Write each answer in simplest form.
Okay, now what do you notice about these two fractions? Do they have the same denominator?
Yes.
They do? Is that 5 and 10 are the same?
No, they have the same numerators though.
They have the same numerator, but when you're adding fractions with different denominators, the first step is to find common denominators. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to make an equivalent fraction for 3/5 and for 3/10, okay? Okay, so here we are. We've got our same fractions. We've got 3/5 and 3/10, the same as the fractions over here. Instead of lining them up like they have here horizontally, we lined them up vertically. So I'm going to ask my friend here, what is a common denominator for 5 and 10? In other words, what number is a factor of both 5 and 10?
2.
All right, 2 is something you can multiply 5 by to get 10, which is a good step. But we want to find something that 5 and 10 can both go into. What number can 5 and 10 both go into?
They can both go into 10.
Great. So we'll use 10 as our denominator. And I'm going to ask you this question. How many times does 10 go into 10?
Once.
Okay, so you're saying 10 times 1 is 10. What you do to your denominator, you do to your numerator. What's 3 times 1?
3.
Great. Now, this is a separate question. How many times does 5 go into 10?
Twice.
Good. So 5 times 2 you're saying is 10?
Yes.
So we got to do 3 times 2 is what?
6.
All right, so now, as a mechanic looking at this problem, you can't add fractions with different denominators. You can't do it. But now that you found a common denominator for both of these fractions, and the common denominator was 10, now you can add 6/10 plus 3/10. When you have a common denominator, all you have to do is add the numerators. So what's 6 plus 3?
9.
Okay, so 6 plus 3 is 9, and your denominator stays the same, which is 10. So 6/10 plus 3/10 is 9/10. Let's think about that. You've got 3/5, which is a little more than half, and 3/10, which is about a third. So a half plus a third, if you think about 1/2 plus 1/3, 1/2 plus 1/3 would be close to 1 whole, right?
Yes.
And 9/10 is really close to a whole. So your estimate over here makes sense with your actual answer. Just going to draw a picture to support this. So if this is a half, right? And then a third of this shape might be, if you think about this shape, if it were cut into thirds, a third of this shape might be all of this space here. So if you look at a half plus, here's your half over here, and then here's your third. It's pretty close to a whole block covered if you look at the whole block. So the answer of 9/10 looks like it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do another one. So I realize I misspoke earlier. What you want to find between 10 and 5 is called the least common denominator, which is the least common multiple. I said factor, but the student I'm working with was right. She identified that 10 would represent the least common multiple. By multiple, it's a number that you can skip count by with both the 10 and the 5, and you can get to 10. So a number you can skip count by 10 and hit 10, and a number you can skip count by 5 and hit 10 is called the least common multiple. So when you're adding fractions or subtracting fractions with different denominators, you have to find this common denominator, and you often do that by finding the least common denominator, which is the least common multiple. Okay, just wanted to clarify, I misused one math term. I don't want to confuse you.